leave me lonely. Never, never. I said I.
Y'all ever been in a committed relationship with somebody and every other month y'all are going through something? Y'all got another obstacle you gotta go through every other month. Some people it's every month, some people it's every week, but there's always an obstacle. You're always on an emotional roller coaster with that person. And just one day you looked at that person and said, and just thought to yourself, can I do this for the rest of my life? As a divorced woman, one of the biggest lessons I've been taught about love is that love is very important, but compatibility, it is what is going to take you through the ends of time. Compatibility is what's going to take you to 80, 90, 100 years old in your rocking chair with your lifelong companion watching the sunset. And that roller coaster that you're...
Hold on. I'm gonna just pause it right there real quick. I don't necessarily disagree with her, but I don't know if it's my personality type. But anytime I hear people, begin to try to talk about things in a way like that, like guarantees an outcome, I always get kind of nervous. Because compatibility is not new to us today. Compatibility has been a matter of life since time began, and the Bible refers to it as being equally yoked. So it doesn't necessarily guarantee, she's essentially, from what I've gathered so far, of course, context matters, but from what I gathered so far, she's saying compatibility is almost like the key ingredient to a long-lasting relationship. I don't necessarily disagree, but I also don't fully agree. But I'm gonna let her keep talking.
On with that person, it's not normal. It's not love. It's not even passion. It is toxicity disguised as love. And oftentimes you hear people say, I love hard. I love hard. Okay, you can love hard, but that constant bickering and not seeing eye to eye and every other month, every week it's something, that is the universe telling you that you are not compatible with that person at this stage you are in your life.
All right, hold on. All right, so real quick, let me say this. When she said that's the universe, I'm just gonna be honest, it wasn't even her saying she's a divorced woman. I've learned a lot of things from people who have either been in a relationship and it didn't work, or been married and are divorced. So I don't necessarily run from that. Of course, my antennas go up, but divorced people can share experiences that are really helpful, that as well. So, but when people start saying the universe is telling you this and the universe is telling you that, that's where they lose me, because the universe isn't telling us anything. When we're talking about relationships, specifically marriage, because she's saying marriage, the universe didn't create marriage. God created not only the universe, but he designed marriage. So I'm not going to be taking advice from somebody who believes the universe is telling them, giving them a sign, quote unquote, that, because of incompatibility and disagreement, that, this isn't a marriage or a relationship that can last. But I'm gonna let her keep talking. But when I start hearing people say the universe, I'm just like, okay. Like that credibility start, like I said, I agree with her on some points already, but yeah, let me let her keep talking.
It doesn't mean that that person is a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It means that you are not compatible. It means you're not compatible. So let me give you a few examples of incompatibility. If you have to work hard to change who you are, to fit into this person's idea of who you should be, you're incompatible. If you are having more days that you are drained than you are energized, you're incompatible. If you are having more days of frustration than you do joy with that person, you're incompatible. If you have to constantly say to yourself, man, we had a good week. Man, we had a good month. You're probably incompatible. And when I say that constant roller coaster, I'm not talking about, you know, when you first meet somebody, you first are getting to know somebody, there's a little bit of learning curve in every relationship. Just like you're new on the job, right? You could have worked in that industry for years, but you're new to that particular company, so there's a little bit of a learning curve. So you got to learn that person, their nuances, how they think, right? Sometimes there's a little bit of trauma. I'm not talking about the learning curve that you experience when you're first meeting someone in the first few months. I am talking about the constant yo-yoing of emotions. That is the universe telling you you're not compatible. That is a very hard pill to swallow when you love someone. And when you have made a commitment to be with this person, that's a very hard pill to swallow, that you're not compatible with someone. Because as humans, it's natural for us to want things to work out, especially when we made a commitment to it. But I am telling you, once you get past that honeymoon stage of the first few months, it isn't normal every single month to be going through something with somebody that you committed to. And you cannot convince me that it's normal. It's not. And it's the universe's way of telling you, let that shit go. And so, no, for the record, I do not believe that relationships are cookies and cream and every day is about sunsets and smiles and ice cream. No, I don't believe that. I believe that relationships are hard work. But I am just sharing this with you because it's one of the hardest lessons I've had to learn about love. We can love somebody down. But oftentimes, if you think about it, and some of us have been in relationships like this that didn't work out, when you look back on it, those were people that was cool to hang out with. But it never should have turned into a relationship. It never should have progressed into a relationship. So I said all that to say, pay attention to the emotional highs that you are on with the person that you are committed to. If there's a constant yo-yoing of emotion, listen to the universe. Don't fight it. Y'all ever been in a committed relationship with some?
All right. So she said some things that I agree with. You know, relationships are hard work. They're not, everything's not going to be peach and cream, or peach and cream. I think it's peach and cream. And it's not going to be perfect. So there's going to be work. But she also shares some concerning things, you know. And as I said, it wasn't concerning that she's been divorced. And I'm not watering down, you know, just how traumatizing a divorce can be for everyone involved. But that doesn't alarm me as in like someone can't give sound advice because they're divorced. What alarmed me more than anything is her saying, you know, listen to the universe, or that's the universe telling you this, that's the universe saying that, or that's where, you know, we differ. You know, I believe everyone, because God gives everyone, you know, the free will and choice to believe what they want to believe. If someone wants to believe that the universe is telling them something, hey, so be it. But, you know, God has already told us that he is the only one who's to speak to us, which he has spoken to us through his word. And especially for something as sacred as marriage, we ought to really be listening to God, the creator of marriage and the creator of family, the creator of love. Love is an extension of him, not someone who's saying, oh, listen to the universe. God created the universe didn't create it. So that's really my biggest gripe with her advice. And that's, to me, what makes it dangerous, because it's essentially pointing us away from God, away from his sound wisdom, and away from his word to, you know, the universe, which the universe can be what anybody essentially want to make it to be. The universe is telling me to do this or to do that. And it's like, well, how do we know it's right? Oh, because the universe said it. So that's my biggest gripe. But I did agree with her saying, it takes a lot of work. And if there is a lot of ebbs and flows going on in a relationship, it should be, the caution light should go off. And I'm not saying in a marriage, because I'm not here to give you marriage advice. I think marital advice should come from married people or divorced people, and obviously, most importantly, God's word. But what I will say in terms of relationship, because I've been in relationships, and when things are going like this, you have to do some self-reflection, some relationship reflections, and have some conversations, because that could be a telltale sign that you're on two different pages, or someone needs to grow. Now, I do remember her saying this, like, you shouldn't have to change. She said when someone's incompatible, one of her examples was, if you have to change to fit or work hard, for the relationship to work. I disagree. Okay, on one end, I agree. Like, if you're somewhat of a goofy personality type and you enjoy being outdoors and, being active, and you're talking to somebody that doesn't enjoy any of that and they want you to conform, I personally, from a relationship standpoint, I say, hey, if you choose to do that, that's on you. But I don't see that as being wise, because I'm like, how is that going to play out long term? It usually doesn't play out well long term. But where I do kind of disagree at the same time with her example is that if you're in a relationship, there is change that has to happen, because it's not about you, it's about you and that other person. And sometimes that is very hard, and sometimes it's for the better for sure, but you have to fit into a mold that's healthy for relationship. And anytime we think that we should just get in a relationship and it should fit around us, it just doesn't work that way. So I agree and disagree with that part of it. And I don't know, she shares some things, like I said, for the most part, when she was talking about the universe, the credibility just went down for me and out the window. But like they say, a broken clock is right 2 times a day. So she did say some things that I did agree with, and some things that I disagree with. But I'd say this, to you all, compatibility is not everything in a relationship, because you can be compatible and it still doesn't work, because there are other pieces of the puzzle. I do think compatibility helps. I also think when two people aren't compatible, it's not necessarily this alarm to say like, oh, this is not going to work, because sometimes people make choices to be more, should I say, more supportive of what another person has, and they take on, I don't want to say that person's personality, but they in a sense mold themselves to fit that person's life, to push their life as a couple forward. And I don't see that as a bad thing. I hope that makes sense. And sometimes some people say, well, if you don't have anything going on and I have a whole lot going on, then we're not compatible. And that's where I'm saying I disagree, because that person who doesn't have a lot going on could commit to helping the person who has a lot going on, and they can help push that relationship forward. But anyways, just wanted to give my 2 cents on it. Y'all let me know what y'all are thinking in the comment section. And as I always say, no matter what, there's hope. Catch y'all in the next video.
Gonna fall down, but you gotta get up.